Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all all doing? Welcome to Cliff Notes Live. We're one day off from being able to say, May the 4th be with you. I'll say it again. I'm huge Star Wars fans, and I had 4th of July yesterday. All kinds of stuff going on today. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Let me start off with a big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, love reality TV, love all you guys that come in and hang out with me every Monday evening, and those of you who watch on replay as well. Thank you all. Welcome to first Cliff Notes Live of May, episode 267, I think, something like that. Glad to have you all here. Just as a little test. You know, over the last few weeks, I've had some problems with my camera going out here and there. Shut the whole computer down. Started it all up about 10 minutes ago. We'll see if it gets a little bit better. If that doesn't work, I don't know what I'll do next. But anyway, I hope y'all are doing fantastic. Before we get any further into it, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, turning on notifications, and then you can always hit the old thumbs up because you know I like those thumbs up. We're getting closer and closer to Big Brother season, and once that happens, there'll be a lot more videos dropping and all kinds of stuff. It's getting excited. I need to be doing some sleeping right now, but that never quite works out that way. I'm just getting ready for zero sleep during the Big Brother season itself. All right, let's see who all's out here, and then we're going to just get right into reality TV, alpacas, whatever else we may have on in mind tonight. Kennedy Franken. Kennedy, how are you doing, my friend? I hope everything is fantastic. Big Jake 88. Hey, Big Jake. Mark Taylor as well. Mark, howdy, howdy, howdy. Let me get my mouse here going. Michelle Moore. Howdy, Michelle. Ma, hope you're doing fantastic. Now, I know a lot of y'all in school, either school just finished up, in which case you're incredibly happy and celebrating, or you may be in finals week, which means you're probably all stressed out and all of that. Ma and everyone else out there, school and all that, hope it's all doing fantastic. Let's see who else we have in there. Marilyn Sutherland, howdy, howdy, howdy. Brian Hostel, Brian, howdy, sir. Carol Mosher, hey. Ed, let's see, Karen Loveland. Let's see these names out here. Mawcast, okay. Laura Lewis, howdy, Laura. Paul Long, Tina Harlan Sandstedt, Hunter Green, Chaz. I love seeing you guys out here. Ed as well. I think I said it a second. I'll say it again. Audrey Cobb, Wyatt Garrett, my friend. How are you? Lynn Gideon, Terry Thomas, and I think that's about. And Ken T. I love seeing the names out here week in, week out. Man, y'all are loyal friends. So thank you so much for that. All right. All kinds of stuff. We got a little bit of reality TV and other things. Let me check on here real quick. I was reading through the names. Let's see. Got that. Big Jake 88. Yeah, let's start that off. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, we couldn't do May the 4th be with you, but we get Cinco de Mayo instead, right? Hey, we'll have, as soon as this is over, Sharon's fixing a little bit of Mexican food celebration for us. Of course, we live in Houston. Every other day is pretty much Mexican food anywhere. It's great. I went down as a 16-year-old to Mexico City, actually Cuernavaca, which is a city not too far. Stayed with a bunch of kids who lived in who lived in an orphanage, and went down there on kind of a trip to help get the orphanage set up and things like that. We were so excited when we went down there. So, we get to try real Mexican food, not Tex-Mex like we have it. We get to try real Mexican food. All excited about it. The first night, they were excited. I think I may tell the story before. They were excited to have some American friends coming, and they wanted to make us feel at home. So they all fixed the spaghetti. So we laughed about that. But yeah, it was fun. We found a common bond over Coca-Cola. Doesn't matter where you are. We had a little Coca-Cola while we were down there. So anyway, yes, happy Cinco de Mayo to all of y'all. We'll be celebrating. I just posted on my Instagram the Aggieland Mariachi Band playing the Aggie War Hymn with mariachi music. Pretty cool. Check it out. All right, let's see. Karen Loveland saying, all right, why do you have alpacas? I've got them here. I also had them on my StreamYard reminder and my Instagram story teaser. Karen, it's because I was going to talk about it last week, and I just got, how I'd start rambling, right? And go on to topics I didn't even plan on. Well, that happened last week. Ran out of time, didn't get to telling alpaca stories. Why am I talking about alpacas? Because I was at a wedding, I guess it's now 2 weekends ago. I had a cousin who got married outside the Austin area. It was a cool wedding, a perfect time of the year. It's kind of outdoors, covered, but is outdoors. We're kind of up in the hill country, which is a little more rural area. It's near Austin, but not so close that you didn't have all the outdoors. Deer going around everywhere. They at one point let monarch butterflies go as a symbolism of new life and all that. But one of the things they did after the ceremony was over is they had bride and groom alpacas. And you just have to go to my Instagram story page to find what I'm talking about. But they had a little white alpaca dressed up as the bride, a little brown alpaca dressed up as the groom, wearing tuxedos and wedding veils. And, you know, how can you not laugh at that? I will say this: after the bride and groom took their pictures, I, being the kind of person I was indeed the very first person in line to get my pictures made with the alpacas, even before any of the kids. I said, I'll be the guinea pig. I'll test them out. So posed with some pictures with alpacas, got to visit the people who, as a business, do alpacas at different events and all of that. So yeah, it's kind of cool. I can't say I've spent a lot of time with alpacas in the past, but they were fun to hang out. They dress up well. Ma is saying fed alpacas just 2 weeks ago. Well, that's kind of unusual. You just don't see alpacas everywhere, right? I think they're well, I know they're South American. I still, the difference between alpaca and a llama, I think llamas are bigger. Llamas spit in your face. I don't think alpacas do. At least they didn't spit in mine, but they're fun. So much. God, they're soft. Now they did say don't put your face right in front of theirs, so you may not want to pee. You may not want to upset an alpaca. I don't know, but we had fun with it. So yeah, just had fun. Want to talk about my alpacas a little bit, because other than Ma, how often do you get to hang with the alpacas? Sharon and I did not have alpacas at our wedding. Yeah, probably just well, we didn't think of it back then. Hey, she was taking on the last name of Hog. We should have just had wild pigs running all over. That may not have gone well for a wedding celebration. I would have been fine with it. But anyway, so that's the alpaca story. Just have a little fun. All right, let's see. I feel like I need to have some big alpaca story, but that's all I got, guys. All right, Mark Taylor, do you think who was kicked off Survivor was the right person? All right, spoiler alert: if you're behind on Survivor, and some of you may be. Hopefully most of you aren't, but if so, spoiler alert. Do I think the person who was kicked off was the right person? Yes, I do. Now, y'all know me. I'm always going to cheer for the underdog. And there was a part of me that was very hopeful that the people outside that big, strong person alliance were going to maybe rise up and overthrow the people who just are so certain they got this game on lock. I don't ever want to see that on any reality game. It wasn't to be. Spoiler alert again, Star goes home. I'm fine with it. I just, Star really, I thought she was a nice person. In real life, I bet she is a blast to hang around with. I thought she was very humanist in the way she talked to Cedric at one point when he was down. I just think she's a good soul, but I'm not sure that she had the cutthroat mentality that she needed to play the game of Big Brother. She found the immunity idol, and just because she couldn't open it up, she gave it to Eva, which I would say, hey, great, congratulations on opening it, Eva. Now give it back to me, and I'll maybe watch out for you. But she gave it to her. She never asked for it back. She did not even play her shot in the dark when I think it had to be pretty obvious that she was the one going home, right? I just think she did not want to. Some people don't like to antagonize other people, and they don't like conflict. And in the real world, there's something to be said for those kind of people. In the reality TV type world, a little bit tougher. I know what that was like. I hated the arguing that took place in the Big Brother house sometimes. It just made me feel uncomfortable. Part of the game, but with her, I just don't think she really was willing to stand up for and protect herself as much. And so that was it. Ed Sands thought she was going to be a finalist. I thought she could go under the radar enough that she could potentially sneak in. Now, here's the thing. Star, even if she'd made it a little further, I just don't think she was involved enough in the strategy play that she could have ever won this thing. I don't think the jury would have ever respected her game, even if she made it to the very end. We saw too many examples of her not really seeming to be in tune with anyone else in terms of votes. She cast some kind of random votes, which makes me think that she just wasn't being talked to about, we're going to do this or that. No one really saw her as a threat. They didn't really see her as anything out there other than a nice person that we'll hold on to and get rid of when we need to. So yeah, a fantastic person that just perhaps wasn't ready for Survivor. So I am fine with her going. But that then leads, who do you think's going to win this thing at this point in time? I think I see Mark is saying, who do you think will be the two to make fire? Oh, that's a good question. Not the final two, but the two to make fire. Here's what I think. I think Eva and Joe, I think they're in trouble. If the rest of this group can get their act together and go after one or the other. Now the problem is Joe has shown he can win a lot of immunity challenges, right? Eva's got several advantages. I would expect if neither one of them win this next immunity idol, she would probably give one of those protections to Joe to protect both of them, right? So as I say they're in trouble, I also think that they're safe right now. But I still think that within, well, we don't have that much time left. I think that you could probably see them going home like 4 and 5. I mean, right before we get to the fire making challenge. Now, if not, they're going to watch out for each other, and you could easily have a final two of those two right there, which I would be okay with. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to see some upheaval and some chaos. So who makes it, assuming that even Joe get in trouble, who makes it to the final 3, the final 2? I could see Shaheen and Kevin, and it's Kevin, right? Well, how do I not know this at this point in time? And Camilla. I could see like the 3 of them at the end, realizing that Eva and Joe are a strong power couple. Mitch, I think he's a little bit of a wild card right now. Mitch could make it into the fire making. He could maybe make it into the final 2, but I think he would kind of get drugged there. I could kind of see it's Kyle, right? Or is it Kevin? Y'all tell me. God, it feels so bad. I could see him and Camilla and I lost my train of thought now. Making it to the fire making challenge, and then heading the rest of the way in. I don't know. I'm personally kind of cheering for Mitch. I mean, he's from Texas. He's an Aggie. He seems like an incredibly nice guy. He told his story about the postman and dogs chasing him and all that. And he just seems like someone that I would enjoy hanging around with. But he does have the extra burden of having to deal with, speech impediment and all of that. And he's done so incredible. So maybe he's my wild card a little bit. Lynn Gideon is saying, didn't care for her at first, then loved her for, and then giving the immunity idol Eva. She got too much again. And then Cass Wash saying, hate that she gave her idol away. Yeah, I don't give your idol away. I do hate that. I understand that she was wanting to reward people, that she was so frustrated that she couldn't solve that puzzle and all of that. I wouldn't have done it. I would have compromised a little bit and said, hey, because you helped me, if I'm in a position where I can help you out, then I'm certainly willing to do so. But you're not getting the idol. Eva's just kind of, for whatever reason, some of it is just because she won immunity and things like that. But she's got a lot of things in her pocket, literally, at this point in time, right? She's doing really well. She had at one point where I thought, maybe is she going to use being on the spectrum as a little bit of a crutch to help her get a little bit further? Nah, she just faced the beast and dealt with it and moved on and is playing the game spot on. The only thing with her and Joe is just that they've been so obviously linked so tightly together. I think that's always a little bit dangerous. But yeah, I'm going to be happy. Again, I don't think Star would have gotten the vote at the end. I don't know that Mitch would get the jury vote at the end. As much as people like him, I don't think he would. Other than that, I don't know. I think Mary has kind of survived for a while. Now we'll see what happens with David gone. She did okay last week, but she's kind of lost her. You got a lot of duos in this game. She doesn't have anyone right now. I could see Mary and Kevin and Camilla maybe getting together, do something. I don't know. Can y'all tell? I don't really know just yet how this is gonna wrap up. I did like some of the challenges that they've had lately. That they weren't just the same old obstacle course type challenges and all. I thought that Survivor's picked up pretty well here in the last couple of ones. I've enjoyed those. All right, Ma is saying, wow, it's pouring down rain here, guys. They said there was hail coming and all that. So if I lose you, it may not be my camera. It may just be rain and brimstone coming down. All right, Ma is saying, people don't realize that Star didn't use her idol because she would have lost her vote. And it could have been 4-3 without a vote. And her shot would have been the reason she left. No, fair enough. And it is kind of weird that you do lose your vote if you use a shot in the dark, which is a guarantee. I mean, you lose your vote for only a 1 in 6 chance. So you really have to think that your back is up against the wall in order to do this. So fair point, Ma. I understand completely on it. And we don't, I mean, what looks obvious to us may not be obvious to others. And you're right. Maybe she was more thinking if she could just force a tie and then people go to rocks. And then next thing you know, she's safe and everyone else is at risk. I get it. I absolutely get it. That's why I'm not ever going to question anyone too much when they play this game. I'll point out little things that I think I'd do a little differently, but when I meet them in person, it's all good. It's such a stressful, hard deal. I saw a little blurb that Teeny from last season, she was last season, right? Put a little blurb out, getting ready to go on the show. And Teeny talked about being stressed out, trying to be as ready as possible, knowing that they were going to have a couple of days to stare at people. Teeny was worried that some people that Teeny would get upset at some people for not making eye contact, and others would not want to be on the tribe with. And it's funny, all the things that go through your head with that. I was the same way while I was sitting in sequester waiting to go on the show, thinking, gosh, I've got 15 people, I assume 15, some number of people coming in. And who am I going to just absolutely hate? Who am I going to absolutely love as soon as I get in the house? Well, as it turns out, I didn't hate anyone, but I felt very overwhelmed. But I remember the nerves right before going on the stage to see Julie and knowing that the house was just on the other side of the wall. And it gets you. It really gets you. I can only picture the Survivor folks exactly the same way, thinking you're going to act a certain way, but in reality, and especially with Survivor, where you're split up into different tribes. Big Brother, it's all of us together. Survivor, you got different tribes, and based on how just randomly you end up, you could have to play a completely different game than if you ended up on another tribe. So you never know. All right, let's see what we've got on here. Laura Lewis is saying, major storm in Pennsylvania Tuesday. Been without power for over 120 plus hours. Got power back last night. Well, Laura, I hope you're enjoying. Wow, it's up there. It's still a little cold, still a little hot. I hope you're enjoying having some climate control in your house. I hope you got some ice cream or something that maybe you haven't been able to take advantage of. 120 hours. What is that? 5 days? Yeah, 5. My math's right. It's a long time. We've had that once or twice with the hurricanes down here. And yeah, not a lot of fun, especially down here. Hurricanes hit in August, so it's hot. Suddenly you lose power, and these homes aren't designed not to have AC blowing full speed down here. All right, I'm feeling for you, my friend. 120 hours is a long time to go without electricity. Well, I hope that doesn't happen down here. Gosh. All right, well, and you're here watching Cliff Notes. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, Ed saying, saw Genius Game. I'm glad you brought that up, Ed. Saw Genius Game from the UK. It's a lot like the Korean Devil's Plan. Like it so far. Only saw the first episode. All right. Thank you. I knew there was another reality show that was out there that I wanted to watch, and I kind of lost my list of all the shows I wanted to watch. I didn't lose it. My list has just gotten too long. Sharon and I over the weekend picked back up with Outlander. Fantastic. Little bit of time travel, a little bit of sci-fi, a whole lot of romance. We love the show. They're in season 7, 8, something like that. Anyway, we picked back up and we're finishing up Outlander. Love that. We also watched new reality show for us this weekend. We started to watch Battlecamp, which is on Netflix. I guess I'm kind of into it. I would be more into it if I knew more of the people that are on that show. Shuby is on there from the Circle. I've met Shuby, an incredibly nice guy, and he's in real life exactly the way you see him on TV. Shuby's on there, so I'm cheering for him. We got a couple of people from The Mole, a lot of shows, Too Hot to Handle and X on the Beach, and it shows that I don't necessarily watch as much of, so I don't really know. Trey, I think, from Squid Game The Challenge is on there. So one or two people I know, but a lot that I don't, which makes it a little bit harder for me to start with, to be cheering for or against some people. But it's kind of cool. They're out in a campsite setting, trying to do different challenges and things like that. First episode, we'll see. Some of the challenges maybe a little hokey and all that, but that's okay. It's fun. Hey, I used to watch a show called Redneck Island, which was incredibly cheesy, incredibly hokey, but still a lot of fun. They cast their votes, if I remember, by putting beer cans in a cooler or something. You can't get any cheesier than that. That's like Jersey Shore Southern edition or something. Yeah, watch Battlecamp, but I'm losing my train of thought. The Genius, like the Devil's Plan, the Devil's Game from South Korea. I saw it was coming on. I have watched, and I'd like to watch more, some of the reality shows from South Korea. Well, North Korea may have some interesting reality shows, but their reality shows may be a whole hell of a lot different. But South Korean reality shows are incredible. The strategy, some of the games they play are so much more involved, so much more complex than anything that we have here in the States. It humbles me a little bit to watch that they have 16 people playing some of the mind games that they play on some of those reality shows. I've watched one or two of them where they're playing games similar to Mafia, except there's so many different roles that people are trying to keep track of. And it's just incredible, some of the reality TV you get out of South Korea. Reality shows and some of their zombie shows. Last Train to Busan, one of my favorites. Anyway, yeah, I'm ready to watch it, and from the UK, so I won't have to worry about subtitles. It's so funny watching these South Korean reality shows because they dub everything underneath, and the voices are sometimes pretty funny trying to match that with the people on the screen and all that. But yeah, thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. I'm definitely want to check that out because if it's based on South Korean reality TV, then they're going to have a whole nother level of strategy, and I'm all for that. I think I'd do okay with those kind of shows, right? I mean, there's nothing against the stuff that we did in Big Brother that was, hanging onto a giant styrofoam log and things like that. But yeah, playing games that involve a lot of cards and strategies, and there's a whole different level to that. All right, let's see what else we've got on here. Brian Hosteller. Brian, how are you doing, my friend? Should get word in the next couple of weeks on Big Brother start date. And Karen Loveland said, saw Big Brother is starting in July. All right, I don't know that's been announced, but what has been announced, I just saw it today. First of all, Big Brother casting call May 9th in Virginia. Don't know exactly where. It's at a casino in Virginia. That's all I remember. Check out Jesse Tannenbaum's website. He's got it listed, I'm pretty sure. But May 9th is the casting call. It's going to be the last casting call because Jesse also posted that May 16th they're shutting down casting. So if you want to be on this season of Big Brother, you've got 12 more days to get in your video and take your shot. What's the worst that's going to happen? You won't get called. And then so what? What's the best that's going to happen? You're going to get called and you've got summer plans all summer long and you're walking out the door with a check for $750,000, maybe more than that. Maybe they'll surprise you, say we're bumping it up to $1 million this year. You never know. I would be okay either direction. But no, so you've got about 12 days left for casting for Big Brother. So make it happen. As far as when it starts, I saw DJ Bowie Jane put out I just saw her story that she's predicting, I think, August 3rd, based on the last casting call and when their season started versus when their last casting call and all that was. I'm going to challenge Bowie Jane. I think it's going to be earlier than that. She's saying August 3rd. I'm going to say, I don't know what day 4th of July is this year, so I'll just kind of randomly say July 7th. Could be the 6th, but I think just a couple of days after the 4th of July is when it's going to start. They're going to let everyone go off and do their picnics and outdoor activities and all that. Once you get back from the 4th of July weekend, that following Tuesday or Wednesday, let the games begin. So I'm thinking it's a little bit quicker than Bowie Jane is. Now, she's basing that on the fact that there's a casting call in May and not so much time between that and when the show starts. I've said this before in here, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but Nicole and David Alexander from my season, they both showed up at finals and were in the tryout process just weeks before the season started. Whereas with me, mine was back in February and March. So I had a lot of time to wait, not knowing if I was going to get on or not, but just a lot of time after I'd gone through kind of all the hoops. Nicole and David right up to the very end. So yeah, I think it'll be right. I think it'll be the early to middle part of July, right after the 4th of July holiday. I don't think it's been announced either way yet. If it has, please let me know. But I'm not sure CBS has put their schedule out yet. I kind of hope it's after the 4th of July, so Sharon and I can go out and do some family stuff and get outdoors and enjoy some fireworks and things like that before I go on lockdown for the show itself. I'm just ready for it to start. I can get started tomorrow and I'd be perfectly fine with it. Still trying to get through not having BB Canada, but yeah, you work with what you got. All right, Hunter Green saying, got to go to Talladega Speedway for the Jack Links 500 was wild. I bet it was, Hunter. I will admit, even though I'm from Texas, even though I'm a good old boy in some ways, I have never been to a NASCAR event. I should. There's Texas Motor Speedway just up the road from where I grew up and all that now, but didn't get to see to do it. Talladega sounds like a whole lot. Oh, sweet baby Jesus! That's all I can think is Will Ferrell and all of that. But Talladega Nights. But no, that would be a lot of fun. I'm a lot more into Formula One because I worked international, global for so long. Not that I don't enjoy the sports anyway, but it certainly paid off to be able to talk about Premier League soccer and Formula One, because there's a lot of Brits all over the world who, yeah, you always want to make sure you have some conversation starters when you're sitting in a pub in Kuala Lumpur or somewhere else. And you can always get a good conversation started no matter where you are just by bringing up one of those two topics. So Sharon and I watch a lot of Formula One, not as much NASCAR, but yeah, I didn't realize I started watching car racing and Formula One. There's a lot more strategy involved. And I'm sure NASCAR is the same way. And seeing the power behind those vehicles, I can only imagine. And what, 400,000 people or something there? It's incredible the crowds that get to at those things as well. I gotta say, it'd probably be one of my bucket list deals. Wear a big old pair of headphones. Well, I don't know. I spent too much time in the drilling rigs. My hearing's halfway shot anyway. But yeah, I think it'd be fun to show up at one of those things and just watch those cars and watch the people. Probably be more fun hanging around the people and doing the tailgating and the inner area and some of the things like that. Oh, congratulations. You got one of my bucket list items that I haven't done yet. So, yeah, one of these days. And Talladega, especially, of all the places you go, that's pretty cool. Congratulations, Hunter. That's pretty neat. All right, let's see. I love it. Austin down here in Texas does Formula One. We'll go do that one of these days. All right, Mark Taylor saying, what's your opinion of Amazing Race? Amazing Race. I love it. Some of the challenges that they've been doing this year, I thought were challenge light in some ways. They certainly are always having fun. I think the teams have been fine. I really liked 2 weeks ago where they had that Cypher challenge, because that was kind of a dangerous challenge. They're lucky they all got that right eventually. Some people quicker than others. This past week, yeah, I don't know. I like it. I love that they were in Naples, which is kind of cool. They got to deal with giant 2 kilo things of mozzarella. I never knew there was so much involved in making mozzarella, and a lot more to it than I thought. Of all that part of the challenge, the thing that would have gotten me was how to do the twist. I don't know that I was ever a pro at braiding my daughter's hair. I just don't know that. Of course, I did macrame in 6th grade. Remember that, with the ropes and all that for hanging plants. Anyway, I don't know if I could twist that cheese just the right way. If I watch it enough times, I suppose so. But I thought that was over putting the mandolins together. As soon as I saw the clues, that would have been a little bit more what I think I'm good at, is lots of little fine detail putting things together. But yeah, they had that. They had to go up that funicular. Now, who came up with the name funicular? That's not a real word, right? Yeah, it's like a angled trolley car or whatever. They call it funicular. Someone just made that up. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. It would be cool to go to. I've never been. I've been to Italy for less than 24 hours. Milan. I'd have fun going somewhere like that. And I didn't know, of all the challenges that you could face, that the one that almost spelled disaster for Carson and Jack was making a pizza. And I make pizzas every day of the week, and not every day, a lot of times. Now, I may not have quite as. It's a little easier for me to open up that plastic on the Totinos than it is for them to actually do the crust and the sauce and throw it into the wood-fired stove and all that. But he really had issues trying to make that pizza, right? How bad would you feel? I mean, you play a game. I played Big Brother. I didn't make it to the end, but I'm proud of how I played. You do Amazing Race. I imagine if you lose, why'd you lose? Because I couldn't do this 40-step Hungarian dance troupe song. My feet just wouldn't go that direction, right? Okay, we get it. But yeah, I couldn't make a pizza. I got sent home because I just couldn't make a wood-fired pizza. That'd be kind of embarrassing. As it turns out, they were fine. As it turns out, everyone was fine, which Holden and what are their names? I can't I kept saying Kyle and Kevin, or as Kyle. Sorry. Holden and Hans and Holden. They got lucky. I thought they were gonna. It seems like a couple of weeks in a row that they've not quite had it together. Little too much squabbling back and forth. Brother and sister. I guess it's to be expected. He kind of calls her out a few times and all that, and I think she's all right. But no, it's exciting. I like the teams that are left. I think they're all interesting teams. We'll see how it all turns out. It's interesting that they've been so focused on Europe. Now I know they started in Japan and all that, but here lately they're just doing a lot there in Bulgaria, now Italy, and all of that. I miss the seasons where they go to India. It's always when they say we're going to India, that's when you always say, oh, now it's getting ready to get exciting. Watching them try to maneuver through the crowds and the taxis and all of that. But no, I'm enjoying it. Amazing Race is absolutely one of my favorite shows. One of the big three, that and Survivor and Big Brother, are, absolutely my top three favorites. So I always enjoy the Amazing Race. You know what I do like? Yes, we've got some alliances and all that. And we've got a little bit of people helping each other. We saw that on the Cypher Challenge and all that, but it's not so over the top ganging up against one or two people that we've seen in past seasons, where it kind of just, I thought, spoiled the game a little bit and didn't make it as much fun. We've seen some of that happen now, but there were strategic reasons sometimes that people would work together. I'm going to help them because we're both at the front and it'll pay off later, or we're not going to help them because we're the two at the back of the pack, and they may make the difference in whether we stay. I have no problem with that kind of strategy involvement in helping or not helping. It's more when there was a season where they had to walk down the side of a building and one person was giving the answers to the other teams just because they were working together. Sometimes I think they go a little too far with the assisting each other. Not so much this season. So yeah, I'm going to give this a pretty solid grade so far. I'm enjoying Amazing Race at this point. All right, Karen Loveland saying, read about a new reality show where you ride around in a blacked out bus and play games to win clues. You have to guess your location. The male who bang pots, yes, and pans on Big Brothers and contestants. Yeah, Destination X with Josh Martinez. Let me say this. I have met Josh Martinez in real life before. He's a nice guy. He's an incredibly nice guy. I would hang with Josh. I think he is he's been on the challenge a lot, and I feel like sometimes people make fun of him. He can get a little emotional, but there's nothing wrong with that. I would hang with Josh any day of the week. But yes, Josh is going to be on Destination X. And I didn't know that about in a blacked out vehicle listening to clues or reading clues. I just knew that at some point they end up out in the middle of nowhere and somehow they have to figure out where they're at and do that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's gonna be a fun one. But yeah, I was thinking about it. Did y'all know tomorrow, kind of random thought, tomorrow the conclave starts for the new Pope. I mentioned that because Sharon and I are saying, we need to watch, is it on Netflix or HBO? One of the channels, Conclave, the miniseries. So we need to watch that pretty quick so we can get up to speed on how it happens and all of that. Maybe we'll do that. How about a new reality show? How about new Pope gets picked, Big Brother version style? Just take the top 16 candidates and see who makes it to the end. Is that sacrilegious to say that? I'm not being serious. So, yeah, wouldn't it be fun if you had reality TV type rules in the way that real life outcomes were determined? The Pope, the president, maybe one and the same if you believe some memes out there. But wouldn't it be fun if you had different things where you actually had to play by the rules of reality TV to figure out who gets to the end and who doesn't. What if they did that at work? That'd be kind of cutthroat. I'm not sure I want that at work. Uh, I don't even know how I got on that conversation, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, Destination X. I'm ready for. I don't even know what platform. If it's a streaming platform or Fox or what, but I'm ready for it. Yeah, and I'll be cheering Josh on. See how the that big meatball. That was his other thing. He's famous for calling people meatballs and all that. All right, Chaz is saying, Big Brother 30. You're in, but you need to have to pick one of these pairs to be in there with you. Tommy and Christy, Mickey and Holly, and Jack and Annalise. All right. Well, just because I would not ever play the game of Big Brother without thinking and planning and wanting and desiring to stay until the very last day I was in the house. And of those three groups, I don't know if I could take 99 days of Jack and Sis or Mickey and Holly. Nothing against them personally. I just, Christy and Tommy were huge super fans of Big Brother. They both loved the game. We played pranks. They were fun, silly people, full of joy and passion and everything else. So I got to go with the two of them. Mickey and Holly don't even talk to each other. They wouldn't be within the same zip code of each other. So the last thing I want is the two of them in the house, because I'm going to have to be in the middle, moderating all that kind of stuff. Jack and Sis, they're no longer dating. They were for a little while. But yeah, I'm going with Tommy. I would have a blast being in the house back with him. Now, I would like to think if I was back in the house with Tommy and Christy, maybe we could actually work together. I tried so hard during my season. I told Tommy, said, look, Tommy, eventually y'all's group is going to break up. It's not going to last forever. And when it does, I want y'all to be thinking that you can turn to me and pull me in to help you, because I want to work with you and Christy. I told Christy I admired her game even before I knew she was plotting against me, maybe even after that. I enjoyed playing the game with both of them and would do it again in a heartbeat. But having said that, I would not ever want to go to jury with Tommy, because everyone loved Tommy in that season. If Tommy had made it to the final two against any of us, including Jackson Mickey, I think I probably believe Tommy beats any of us over that. Now, him against Jackson would have been interesting, but Tommy was loved by all. I would not ever, in other words, I would work with Tommy, but I also would not want to go to the very end with him. But yeah, of those three duos, absolutely. Of course, who I really want to go back in with would be Ovi. I'd love to play the game with Ovi again and do it differently. And of course, I'm always up to play another season with Nicole. They'll never put the three of us together, but it would be fun. Yeah, I'm going Tommy and Christy on that one without hesitation. All right, let's see. I like that question though. Patricia Miller saying, got a new Monopoly game called Lone Staropoly, and there's a space for I'm a Hog, the first woman of Texas. Are you related? All right, well, now that's kind of cool. There's a lot of versions of Monopoly out there. I used to buy different versions when I would travel overseas. I bought a version while I was in Venezuela, for example. I wish I still had it. It was very low production, but it's still pretty cool. Simon Bolivar Plaza and things like that. But yes, Texasopoly, I'm a Hog. A lot of people don't believe that is a real name. It is. Governor James Stephen Hogg, the first native-born governor of Texas, actually first one born in the state of Texas that then became governor, had two children. His daughter he named Ima Hogg. He didn't do it to be mean. Well, you can't not do it to be mean, but he did it because some ancient relative of his had written some big ballad, Odyssey or something, and the big heroine of its name was Ima. And so I guess he didn't put two and two together. I don't know. But you had Ima Hogg, and then you had William C. Hogg was his son, as in William C. Hogg the third and all that. They are like my great uncle. So I guess Ima and William C. would be like my great cousin, once removed, twice removed, something like that. Yes, there is a connection. They were in Texas in the latter half of the 1800s. My side of the Hogs came from Hogtown, Tennessee, and settled in Texas in 1902. My granddad was born in 1901 when he was 1 year old. They moved to Texas, settled with some of the other hogs that were already living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the story I've always heard was that my grandfather, William C. Hogg Sr., his father named him after their relative, Will C. Hogg, the governor's son. And that's where the connection was between that name and my name and all that. So, yeah, I am distantly related. They're worth a zillion dollars. There's whole Central Park in New York City. There's a park here, Memorial Park, that was owned by the Hogg family. And they donated to the city of Houston. Good for them, bully for them. But picture the people who donated Central Park to the city of New York. It's kind of the Hogs are the same way here, here in the Houston area. So yeah, I'm not close enough connected to them. I wish I was, but not quite that connected. I'm the black sheep side that worked out in the oil fields and all of that instead. But yeah, if you're a hog in Texas, you're probably related in one form or another. It's a fun name to have in this state. Now, if you're named I'm a Hog, and the story is always that there was another sister named Ura Hog, and there was never a second sister. It was Ima and William C. Do you know, I always joke, I'm glad my dad didn't name me Harry, just to have fun with it. The reality is my dad didn't want to name me Harry. You know what my dad wanted to name me? Gus. Yeah, I would have been Gus Hogg. Fortunately, my mom stepped in and said, how about we just name him after you? Give him the title of Will C. Hogg III instead. I think she did more because she wasn't really fond of. No hate to all the Gus's out of the world out there. It's just Gus combined with Hogg just seemed. And I'm okay with that. Would made for a hell of a Big Brother name. I mean, Cliff Hogg 3 was okay, but I can see him. I can see him falling all over themselves to get Gus Hogg on TV as a Big Brother player. My brother's name is Bowie. Bowie. I'm thinking Bowie James. My brother's name is Bowie. And I always said the only reason you got on The Apprentice was because your name was Bowie. And they just thought that was an exotic name and all that. He thinks it's more than that. I still think there's something to be said for having wild and crazy names when you get on one of these reality shows. All right, let's see. Tina Harlan is saying, Tina Harlan Century is saying, been a while since I joined live. Getting excited for Big Brother. Well, first of all, I'm excited that you're out here. Thanks. And Daniel De Jesus is saying, can't wait for daily Cliff Notes. I'm ready for it as well. Yeah, well, thank y'all both. I'm glad you're back out here. But yeah, I am getting excited for Big Brother as well. We're what, a month and a half away or something like that. I've got to figure out how it's going to do this year. Last year was a little difficult because the viewer that I've always relied on to be able to go back and forth to double check what, did he say what I thought he said, and checking all of that. A lot tougher to use last season. They changed the way the viewer worked when you're watching the live feeds. I had a little system that recorded the whole show, but I still had to go back and manually rewind, and it's just not a great system. So I've got to figure out a better way to do it. We've got all these chat GPTs and everything else. Why can't I just take one of these artificial intelligence programs and say, hey, chat GPT, watch the next 8 hours and tell me the stuff that's important. I'm going to take a nap. Send off an alarm if any yelling starts. Artificial intelligence could make it kind of interesting somewhere down the road, but we're not there yet. So since we aren't, I will be watching all night long. The first couple of weeks when there's 16 people, it'll be like trying to pick up conversations in the middle of Grand Central Station. How do you understand and how do you know who to follow when there's so many people talking all at once? And by the end, when there's only 3 or 4 and there'll be no strategy talk at all, and we'll be talking about who washed the dishes and who didn't wash the dishes. They're especially in my season as well, definitely a sweet spot. First few weeks, it's so crowded, you can't even catch your own breath. Last few weeks, you might as well be living in a ghost house because there's no one else in there, and you're tired of the people that are there. But in between, where you're actually playing hardcore Big Brother, and there's just enough people that there's some uncertainty about who's aligned with who and the strategies going, that sweet spot is what makes all the rest of Big Brother worth it. So with all that being said, I am still saying I'm perfectly happy if they want to shave off those last couple of weeks of Big Brother, speed it up a little bit. Survivor did it. They went from 39 days to 29 or something. Go from 99 days to 80 days. And once you get down to 4 or 5 people, you can finish that up in a week or so, and I got no problem with it. But leave that in between spot alone because that's when it gets so exciting trying to figure out who's doing what. I just love the game of Big Brother. I am such a fortunate soul to have gotten to do something that I have such a passion for. And I'd like to think maybe that's one of the reasons they put me on there is because as soon as they would ask me a question about Big Brother, I would just start spouting off, talking away until finally someone would shut me down and say, all right, Cliff, we get it. Let's move on to something else. So yeah, they picked up on that. It was hard. I went in thinking that maybe I wasn't going to tell everyone I was a super fan. And then I realized I can't do that. I just gotta be who I am. All right, Lynn Gideon is saying, is there one of the challenges on Big Brother that you didn't get to compete in that you would want to? Yeah, I'll talk about that. Or a competition you didn't want to compete in that you had to. Well, there's not one that I had to that I didn't want. Hanging from a rope, which we did in the final four for HOH, not my strength. And I was not happy when I saw that as the final HOH. I really hoped it was going to be a more mental challenge there at the end. So yeah, I was disappointed, but I'm still glad I got to do it. Slip and slide, I knew I wasn't going to win, but still getting to do it. I wouldn't have it any other way. There's two competitions that I didn't get to do that I really wish I'd had. One was on my season, and that's the prize white elephant trading, whatever, where one person at a time goes out, they pick a prize, the next person can either take that prize or take what they've got. And so, Secret Santa type deal. I didn't get to do that. It just didn't get picked. That was the week that Jessica won veto, sent out Jack, as it turns out. And yeah, I was really disappointed that I wasn't getting to compete. There's two veto challenges that I didn't get to play in, only two. And both of them involved big prizes. One of them involved the winner getting to go to Fiji, which Sam won. And the other one involved trips to Hawaii, and which I think Kat won. $5,000, which Nick won. Punishments, which in a way would have been fun as well. Yeah, I didn't get to do that, so I was a little disappointed on that one. The other challenge, and they didn't actually have it during my season, I was incredibly disappointed for this, was typically they call it counting fair, something, where one of these challenges, and it's not all like that. There's some challenges where you see a little container and then you have to go in and guess how many items are in a big container and do that. But there were also challenges that don't involve that, where you had to pick the next person up. And I guess really I shouldn't just say counting. I'd like to do that just because I think I'd be very good at it. But the other one was these competitions where you pick, if you win, then you pick the next two people to come up and compete. The winner of that picks the next two people, so on and so on. I wish I had one like that during my season where it forced people to show their alliances somewhat, and we didn't have anything like that. We never had a single competition where that Grateful Eight, the Undeniable Nine, or any of those groups would have had to pick people within. I think it would have helped my game a lot if Christy is up there, for example, and she picks Mickey to go up and compete next instead of Jack or something like that. I think you could have. I was trying so hard to create cracks, divisions within that big group, that big alliance. And if we'd had a competition like that, I was ready for it. I had it figured out who I was going to try to whisper up and who I was going to try to pick based on who they'd pick. And I really thought that was going to help my case. They never had a comp like that. So I'm a little disappointed, but there's only so many competitions you can have per season, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, I like those where you're forced to reveal some of your loyalties and intentions, and we just didn't have it. All right, Chaz is saying, Chaz, how are you doing? I appreciate all the support you give me. Chaz saying, can you expand on Tommy versus Mickey for final two? How do you think all the votes would turn out? Oh, that's a good question, because there were people who went out that were so upset with Jackson Mickey, but then they gave him the vote when it was Jackson versus Holly. So how do you balance those two out? If it's Tommy versus Jackson, right off the bat, that Tommy's getting Christie's vote, right? I think absolutely. I think Tommy is also getting Nick's vote. I don't know which way Jack would go. Tommy really wanted to work with Jack and did everything possible to work with him. I think Sis would potentially get Tommy would potentially get Sis's vote. Holly, depending on how she'd gone out, say we sent Holly home, so it wasn't really Jackson Mickey's fault. He would have gotten her vote. Tommy would have almost certainly gotten Kat's vote. would have gotten Jessica's vote, would have gotten, definitely would have gotten Nicole's vote, may have gotten my vote. I actually am uncertain. It would have depended on how it finished up at the end, who took who to the final two, for example. But if Tommy had made it to the final two, I can see a 7-2 decision, something like that. I just think there were, I don't think we had the most bitter jury. I think most people respected the game and the way they voted, which is why I think Jackson Mickey won at the end. But I do think that there were enough people, if they had Tommy up there, and I think they would have felt much more justified heading it his direction. Again, I think depends on if Mickey took Tommy or vice versa to that final two, but I think Tommy wins it. I truly do. I don't know how Jack would do. I vote. I think Tommy played such a good game. I think I may have cast my vote for Tommy as well. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it would have been a bit of a runaway at that point in time, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. We don't know. I do know this. There's not a chance. I felt more comfortable going against Jackson Mickey in a final two than I felt going against Tommy, especially when I just found out that Tommy and Christy knew each other. So all I could imagine, that when it was the whole Mickey and Tommy arguing and all I could picture is Christy back in the jury house, politicking for Tommy to everyone in there. I did not want him in a final two, no matter what. I would have gone up against Jackson Mickey in a heartbeat, because I had a final two speech prepared against Jackson Mickey, talking all about, because he was going to say I rode his coattails to the end. I was going to say, you're the donkey. I'm the guy with the carrot and the stick behind driving you. I had it all figured out what I was going to say, and saying, yes, I rode your coattails and you let me. And it would have been interesting. But yeah, I did not want to face Tommy in the final two. All right, let's see. Clinton Merchant. Clinton, how are you doing, sir? First time watching Cliff Notes. I recognize you, Clinton. I'm pretty sure I do. Welcome aboard. As you can tell, off-season Big Brother. During Big Brother season, we talk pretty much all Big Brother. Off-season, we kind of talk about whatever's coming up. So I'm glad to have you on board, Clinton. Hunter saying Big Brother needs to be 80 days. I'd be okay with that. I was in the house 93 days and then sequester for the final 6. It's a long time. It's just a long time. I remember, God, in the middle of that thing, day 50 or 60, thinking, God, I still have 30-something days. That is a long time to go. And it gets a little stale at the end when you don't have that many people in there. Poor Nicole. After I went home, there's her and Holly and Jackson Mickey in there. She said those were some very long days when those two were off doing their thing and Nicole was just alone. All right, Tina's saying, slop looks like oatmeal. How bad is it really? Here's the thing. It's not that it's hard. It doesn't taste horrible. It's just, sometimes when you fix oatmeal and you like overcook it and it just gets that mushy, it's almost like a paste kind of consistency to it. It's just sticky. It sticks to your spoon. That is what slop was like. It was just a very tasteless, bland nothing to it. It wasn't bad. It just had no sweetness to it. It had no flavoring. It was just a glop of stuff, is the best way I can put it. I think I would have been okay, because you can have some condiments. I would have been eating pickles and ketchup and mustard. What are you having for dinner, Cliff? I'm having a bowl with mustard on, and I would have done that. But it just has no flavor to it. And I know people go and they try to cook. We're going to cook it into oatmeal cookie type thing. Like, nah, there's nothing good there. It's not bad tasting. It's just the idea that you can only eat that for 7 days or 6 days. So that's the hard part, is that you're banned from eating anything else. So yeah, it's kind of tough. All right, Tim Cox. Tim, I'm looking at this. Thank you very much, sir. I absolutely appreciate the support. You don't need to do it. This is a labor of love, but Tim, thank you. I absolutely appreciate it, and did want to give you a shout out for as well. Tim saying Boston Rob and Amber were here at the Kentucky Derby celebrating their 20th anniversary. Long interview with Access Hollywood. I think I saw him holding one of the trophies or something. I saw a quick little blurb with Boston Rob. That would be kind of cool. Well, didn't it rain a little bit? I didn't get to see the Derby itself. I heard the results and all of that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, well, Amber, the Boston Rob eventually won, didn't he? I know Amber won. Yeah, when I win my first reality show and get $1,000,000, I'll go head over to the Kentucky Derby as well. Heck, I was going to say I may buy one of those racehorses. I think $1,000,000 does not buy you one of those racehorses. I thought it was amazing. Every single horse in that race was a descendant of Secretariat. That was that 1978, I think. Secretariat and Seattle Slew, two of the just most dominant horses, but every single one of them was Secretariat descendant. I saw a picture when Secretariat won. I assume it was the Kentucky Derby. It could have been the Preakness. One of the races won by like 30 something lengths. It's incredible. So yeah, it makes sense. Big money to be had in that horse breeding and all that. So yeah, I'd love to do that. We talked about this last. I'd love to do the Derby one of these days. So it's pretty cool, Tim. Did you hang out and talk to Boston Rob and Amber? That would. I met Boston Rob once at one of the events in Orlando. Talked to him for just a few seconds. He was so swamped with people, we didn't really get to have a conversation. Seems like a nice guy though. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations, and yeah, I'd be yelling. What would you yell, Boston Rob, if you're sitting there watching the Derby with him? I don't know. I'd find some goofball something to yell. I'd probably get him turn around saying, who's that knucklehead back there? But that's pretty cool. Yeah, I missed the Derby this year. I need to go find it on there because I heard it was a fun one. All right, let's see. What else do we have? 7:57. I think it's about the time. Chaz is saying, are you allowed to add sugar to slop? I think so. I mean, I think sugar is, if not sugar, I think like syrup you could probably put in there because that's considered a condiment. So there's ways around it. And that's what I'd be doing. As long as I maybe have some access to milk and a little syrup, yeah, I'd make that slop just fine. There may be more rules to it than I'm aware of. Remember this, for whatever reason, we only had 2 weeks of have not during my season. I never even had a chance. Even if I'd volunteered, I couldn't have been a have not because the first week of have nots was based on the first 4 people. No, the first have not was based on, was after I won HOA. That's what it was. First have nots was based on volunteers, and it was when I won HOH. So I wasn't eligible to be have not because I was HOH that week. So I couldn't do that. The following week, it was based on the first 4 people that fell off the Poised on Ivy competition. Well, because I was HOH, I didn't compete in that competition. So of those 2, I didn't even get a chance. Not that I would have volunteered unless it helped my game, but yeah, I never even had a chance to do it. Once we got through with our the 8 people who did that, I know we had already talked, and Nick and Holly and myself, none of us had been have-nots, and we said, all right, we're all going to be have-nots. If the next week they want volunteers, we'll volunteer to do it. We needed one more slot, and Sis also had not been a have-not, and she said, yeah, I'm not volunteering. Yeah, someone can force me to do it, but I'm not volunteering to be a have-not, which I would not have said until it came to that point, because then it's like, oh, come on, yeah, play the game, be fair about it. It turned out not to be an issue since we didn't have a third week, but she already kind of had said that. So, but the rest of us, we were willing to do it. Slop wouldn't have bothered me nearly as much as taking the cold showers. That's the part that would have killed me. I would have been miserable. I would have been the most stinky person in that house because I don't like taking cold showers, and I would have been so in and out. That would have been brutal. I don't like cold water. That's my Achilles heel on any reality show. So if I go on Survivor, if I go on The Amazing Race, whatever, they're probably gonna have me jumping in, Antarctic water or something, just because they know that's my downfall. All right, Parker's saying 7:59. All right, let's see. Parker's saying, if David wasn't banished, how do you think he would have done? I think he would have done pretty well. He those first couple of weeks were so important to develop relationships and all that. And David was a very nice guy. He was a very charismatic guy. So I think he would have done fantastic. He was so athletic. If he had been there, I think he would have gotten pulled into the big alliance just because of his strength and his physical ability. So I think he would have done great. I think he would have. Yeah, I think he would have done well. It still amazes me when I got banished, and David, and then Kimmy, and then Jessica. I can't say I wasn't surprised at Jessica, or that I was surprised at Jessica. I thought, all right, well, Mickey's going after me. He'll go after Jessica. Kimmy had really not done anything to try to politic or to try to make deals with Jackson. So I was kind of understanding that. David caught me off guard a little bit. I gotta say, when I saw who I was competing with, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to compete against David? And how in the world am I going to compete against him? Because he is such a beast with CrossFit and everything else. So yeah, I think he would have done fantastic. Now, he didn't understand maybe the game of Big Brother. He was a recruit, so I'm not sure he had as much of an understanding from a strategy standpoint. So it took him a little while, but he had a very good read on the house. So I think he would have done pretty well. All right, with that, guys, I think we're going to shut down. It is 8:01, and I got some Cinco de Mayo to Mayan. Hey, kind of like a pun. Anyway, I got some celebrating to do on my own. So we'll go ahead and shut down. Let me finish up with the big old SKD 143. Y'all have a fantastic week. If you haven't done so, subscribe, turn on notifications, hit the old thumbs up. It's always appreciated. Y'all enjoy this week of May, and hey, we'll be back next Monday. We'll talk. We'll see what's happening. We're getting towards the end of Amazing Race Survivor, so we'll talk about that. And who knows? I'm going to go out and watch that Brain game from the UK as well. Y'all check that out as well. Hopefully the rain and the hail and everything it doesn't give us 120 hours lack of electricity. Man, I'm feeling for you on that. Guys, y'all have a fantastic week. I will see y'all next Monday. Until then, cheers, my friends. SKD 143. Love having y'all out here every Monday night, and the ones who watch and replay as well. Don't want to forget you guys.